Sawadee krap. Good afternoon. Today is Saturday, the 10th of July 2021, and this is the English language summary of the daily press briefing here at the CCSA. So thank you, Dr. Tui Sin, just now for the briefing. I'd just like to start off first, just talk a little bit, just a few seconds about social media and news on social media. Of course, the English language news that you can find in Thailand may be limited as compared to other countries around the world. Now, most of the news outlets are in Thai, of course, obviously. There may be a limited number of news outlets in English, but I would just like to suggest that if you live in Thailand, there are more than one English language news outlet. So therefore, relying on one English language news website or one English language news page may not be the most efficient way to follow the updates, especially the official updates on the situation, the important situation in the country, such as the COVID situation that we're having now. Now, in the news this morning, I also saw in the news that a few days ago, some people were arrested because they were spreading fake news in terms of actually as a company in Thailand and spreading fake news. This is very important in this day and age because fake news, it causes confusion. It does not make the country that you live in stronger. It makes it weaker. So it's very important that we look into the news that that are from verified sources, as well as multiple sources as well, before making an opinion or a decision. Now, of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but just perhaps reflect a little bit on whether your post on social media will make the country that you live in stronger or not. I'm sure you hope for that because we are on the same team living in Thailand. Of course, moral support is very important. So whatever your opinions you have on social media, hopefully that will bring more moral support to the people working on COVID, be it frontline workers, be it communicators, be it government officials, be it business persons in the private sector, who have all contributed to making Thailand stronger despite the COVID situation that we have now. I'd like to start off first with the new confirmed case that we have recorded for today, 9,326 cases. We have currently active cases standing at 80,289 active cases, out of which 2,738 are in critical condition and 717 are on ventilators. So we can say that around 26% of those in critical condition are on ventilators, on a more serious condition. Now, for new recoveries, we have recorded at 3,841. For new fatalities, we have 91, with the median age at 67. 91 new fatalities today is actually a new high. The new confirmed cases at over 9,000 might be reaching 10,000 in a few days, perhaps in a few days, but hoping that that will not be something that is prolonged. The cumulative total of fatalities that we have, you can see that on screen. The current wave of infections has caused deaths at a rate of 0.85%. So still not over 1%, but it was increased from a few weeks ago. Most fatalities, same information, is that most have come from Bangkok. For the overall situation in terms of provincial distribution, I think we might have a map of infected provinces coming up. We no longer have any white color designated provinces, white meaning no infections. So we have provinces still with a very low infection rate, so please don't be alarmed. We have the top 10 provinces which have reported the highest number of cases, which Bangkok still stands at the first, being at 3,191 in Bangkok, and followed by the other provinces, mostly in the central region. Now, for the observations from today's meeting, many infections could still be found in the factories in various provinces, clusters in markets. The number of new confirmed cases detected from the illegal border crossing still remains high, which have caused some concerns because of the number of infections in our neighboring countries. That's still on an upward trend. If you look at the news, many of the neighboring countries of Thailand in the ASEAN region continue to have infections on an upward trend. Therefore, authorities here have, in the border areas, have continued to practice these measures in terms of the surveillance. And we highly recommend anyone who plan to cross into Thailand to contact agencies and follow the instructions, of course, for legal entry. The objective of today's briefing mainly is to recap the measures that we announced yesterday. Of course, there's a mountain load of information, a lot of details when we announced it yesterday. Some were asking about details, but of course, with the limited airtime, we cannot go into details all the time. We'll go into the mode of frequently asked questions at the end of my briefing. I think that's a good way to address some of the questions that people have in detail regarding the new measures. And of course, on social media, the official page and Facebook of the different agencies, you can look for information there as well in parallel. Now, yesterday, as you know, the CCSA approved the increased measures and restrictions. Just a quick recap on these measures, because they all directly connect to the people's daily life. And of course, we have to create a common understanding of the necessity of these measures. These measures have already been officialized, meaning they have already been announced today in the Royal Gazette. And they will be implemented for at least 14 days. At least 14 days means at least until the 25th of July 2021. Just to recap on new zoning, the CCSA approved the new color-coded disease control measures. You can see on screen, 10 provinces remain in the dark zone, which could also be called the maximum and strict controlled area. 24 categorized in the red zone or the maximum controlled area. 25 provinces in the orange or the controlled area, and 18 provinces remain in the yellow zone or the surveillance area. Now you can check the new color code categorization, whether which province that you live in Thailand are in which zones. You can look at this in the CCSA's social media accounts and pages. And each provincial authority, of course, will adjust and amend their disease control measures and regulations accordingly to comply with the new color code zonings, and refer, of course, to your provincial authority for any area-specific measures. So regarding the new restrictions, for the 6 provinces in the dark red zone, as you can see, dark red zone has 10 provinces, but for specifically the 6 provinces in this category, namely Bangkok, Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Nakhon Pathom, Samut Prakan, and Samut Sakhon. For these 6 provinces, starting on Monday, 2 days from now, the 12th of July, these restrictions will include the closing of shopping centers, with the exception of supermarkets in shopping centers, takeout restaurants and banks in shopping centers, pharmacies in shopping centers, mobile phone repair and retail stores in shopping centers. All of this, which could be opened until 2000 hours or 8 p.m. in the shopping centers. So basically, the shopping centers being closed, meaning the other stores that sell other items such as clothes and the other things. So the exceptions are for like supermarkets and restaurants, drugstores, banks, as mentioned. Meanwhile, vaccination centers inside shopping malls can operate until 8 p.m. Only. We have had the many shopping centers around Bangkok serve as the temporary vaccination sites in the past days and weeks. So aside from shopping malls, this is for the 6 provinces that I mentioned. Aside from that, we talk about now about restaurants. Restaurants, markets, convenience stores in these 6 provinces must be closed at 2000 hours or 8 p.m. and may resume service at 0400 hours or 4 a.m. Public transportation will cease in providing their services from 2100 hours to 0400 hours, or 9 p.m. until 4 a.m. In terms of spas, beauty centers, and massage parlors, that will also be closed. In terms of the public parks, closed at 2000 hours or 8 p.m. And all government departments have been requested to work from home at the maximum capacity. And meetings, seminars, and trainings should also be set up online. The government is also ordering the public in the dark red zone, that we're moving to the dark red zone, to avoid making unnecessary trips out of the province, and the public will also be asked to stay home at 2100 to 0400 hours, which we can call the curfew. This curfew is exempt to those with specific occupations or assignments related to health services, transportation, public facilitation, etc., where necessary documentation will have to be presented to authorities or officers when asked for. These provinces will also be prohibiting any gathering larger than 5 people. For inter-provincial travel, public transport companies will be asked to reduce the services provided. Relevant authorities will impose stricter restrictions on intra-provincial travel, especially from the 10 provinces in the dark red zone, to minimize people's movements. Now, checkpoints have also been set up by the police and military personnel starting earlier this morning already, the 10th of July. Now, to move on to the frequently asked questions, because we received a lot of questions regarding the details on social media and through other sources. These may require some clarification. I'll just go over 2 of those for today. So first is that some people are concerned that the prohibition of gathering larger than 5 people might cause certain inconveniences, such as families with more than 5 members, or meetings that have been previously authorized to take place before the increased restrictions were announced. Now, regarding this matter, just to clarify that gatherings are strictly needed to refrain, as mentioned yesterday, specifically for social gatherings such as parties, leisure events, concerts, seminars, or activities which require public movement. And certain activities among family members that are living together in the same residence, certain cultural events such as funerals, can still be carried out with the valid and appropriate reasons. Of course, living together is not included in this, but certain activities among family members, funerals, and the like, they have their appropriate reasons, so that will not be included in this 5 people gathering ban. For meetings or events that were authorized before the increased restrictions were announced, this refers to big meetings and events of private sector, of various companies. If you wish to continue to hold these events during this time, even if they were authorized to be held earlier, you have to resubmit documentation for approval, and authorities will be reviewing this on a case-by-case basis. Now, this is for the bigger events of private companies. For the smaller events, or I should not say the word event, for the smaller discussions or meetings, of course, that is not included in this. For example, if your company has a daily meeting internally, that is not included in this. However, we do emphasize that we recommend that video conferencing by various applications should be used to the maximum capacity. So, if you have internal meetings within your company, and in the marketing division, for example, and there are 15 people in that, it of course is recommended that you use the various video conferencing applications, and I believe that many private sector companies, businesses in Thailand already use that to the maximum extent. As for measures, this is number 2 in terms of the FAQs. I'll address this one for today. As for the measures implemented to minimize intra-provincial traveling. There were some questions there. Some understood that this measure has already started. It's not in accordance, which is not in accordance with other measures which are set to start Monday. Now, this measure is related to many agencies and needs time for preparation, including the setting up of checkpoints and manpower allocation. So it was announced yesterday that there has to be time for some agencies to prepare. So note that the stricter measures for provincial travel will be fully implemented on Monday, the 12th of July, 2021 onwards. Nevertheless, we'd like to emphasize to you that to avoid making unnecessary trips or hold gatherings at this moment for your own health and public safety. Now, for intra-provincial travel, there was another question related to this regarding vaccination. Of course, one of the acceptable reasons for intra-provincial travel is for vaccination. Because I've seen on social media some were planning to come to Bangkok to have to be vaccinated, and they were worried about the intra-provincial travel. That is one reason. That is one reason for travel, necessary travel, of course, for health purposes, as mentioned prior. So, just in closing for today, I'd just like to take a short moment to extend our gratitude to the Japanese government in their efforts to help us in this continuous fight against the pandemic. So as of yesterday, a total of 1 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccines were packed into 14 containers and boarded the ANA flight to be delivered to Thailand. And this extra batch of vaccines has landed on Thai soil last night and will be allocated to everyone as soon as possible according to our plan. So just can't stress enough about the importance of getting vaccinated, as it does not only prevent severe symptoms, but also it prevents death as well. And of course, we're doing our utmost to provide everyone with the vaccines as quickly as possible. We have to, of course, start with the most vulnerable group, as announced, the strategy that was adjusted. We have to continue with the 60-plus age group, as well as those with underlying diseases. And always remember that we're taking good care of ourselves is the most important thing to do at this moment. While we do that, we're also looking after others as well when we take care of ourselves. So please remain vigilant and please remain cautious. Observe the various measures, the MHTT. Starting today, just on house arrangements. Starting for today, this weekend, we'll have CCSA briefings because of the new measures. But starting next week onwards, we'll have briefings only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we have it today, tomorrow, then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and after that, only on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, not over the weekend. You won't be seeing us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but keep in mind that you can find information about all of these measures in the various news outlets, and of course try to find information which is authentic. Don't believe every information that you read on just one news outlet. You can double check that with the other news outlets and other sources. So don't be surprised if you don't see us on some days next week, but rest assured that we're working for you throughout throughout the week. So thank you very much for your kind attention. I hope you enjoy the rest of Saturday. สวัสดีครับ